All right. All right. I am going to call to order the PRC committee meeting for Monday, February 10th.
Jennifer Ponte,
Here.
Jed Henry,
Here.
Emily Spahn,
Here.
trustee Cody Brown.
Here. They had this up and they closed it. Okay.
Oh,
All right. Anyone online for public comment?
see.
Right. Move on, committee chairperson. I don't have anything because it's been a while since we met.
Correct.
Any committee members? Actually, I do have one thing. I love to see all the use at the ice rink while it was open. It was wonderful. Like driving by, there's like swarms of kids, and I'm like, oh, that looks kind of fun. I had no chance in heck being out there, but that was cool to see it getting so much use. And then committee members, if you've got anything.
Question, I saw a couple of trees with small diamonds, they all did.
Yeah, dead ash. I'm talking about that.
We got a lot of brush along the roads. Yeah, I remember.
That's pine. Pine along the road in Bear Park. Is that what you're talking?
Yeah, all the cut branches.
Yeah, those were pines that
Oh.
we were trimming up that were kind of lower the ground. So it's easier to mow around. Trim up.
Mike?
Yeah, just a few things, for me. Trees, as you saw, so we finally actually got all of our dead ash trees out of our parks, so. It's taken us probably about 5 years or so to do them all. But the big thing for us is trying to like do them strategically so that, if they weren't completely dead, we didn't want to really get rid of them. The one at Bear Park on the, I'd say east side of Bear Park, up a Small Diamond. That one was just a beautiful purple ash, and last year started dying really bad. That was probably about the last one that kind of stayed with us as long as we could. So we did plant some new trees in those areas prior to taking those down. So probably like 5 years ago, we started planting different trees in areas around the park there, around Bear Park, especially. So there isn't going to be shade for a couple of years, but we do have some pretty good diameter trees now, 3, 4, 5 inches in diameter trunks. So we got some maples in there. I believe one of them is also. So I can't remember what we put next to the big or the small diamond, but our goal was to try and get more shade quicker. So we do have some quick growing trees in that area. Ice rink, as Cody had called out, we didn't have good ice all the way up until like I'd say January 12th. I don't know the exact date, but it took us quite a while to get good ice. Then once we did, it got really cold. There were some people out there using them daily. We were kind of freshening it up every day as well in the morning. And then we hit this really warm spell, which is the worst thing that can happen to us, not having a refrigerated unit, having it be a liner. So we use bunker liner for the lining of the ice skating rink. Which is great because it's cheaper than what a normal bunker would be for, or a normal surfacing material. They have a nice rink as well that you can use a little bit thicker. Problem is once the stuff gets cold and you hit it with a skate or you hit it with a puck or you hit it with a stick, it just slits all the way down and it just keeps going and going and going. So last week, Monday, Dan and I went up there trying to like repair areas. And as we put a couple hours into it repairing, we started adding water. Water just was literally running out the bottom of it in all those areas that we couldn't see. So under the ice, it must have split as well. And so unfortunately, ice skating in the village, at least on public property, is done for the year already. So
Come dark neighborhood.
yeah, you can use
Some
of the retention areas. I've seen some kids out there in a number of areas using
Kids are
those.
out there this weekend.
Yeah, so it's obviously not something that the village takes care of as of right now or does. It could be something we look into. I know that some communities have went away from their villages or cities taking care of any of those with equipment based on it going through the equipment going through, or not wanting that liability. But that hasn't been brought up for us as well. So it's kind of a skid at your own risk at that point. In those areas, so.
I mean, it seems like for the limited time it was open, there were people there all the time. So I was like I'm really bummed to hear that it's
Yeah,
bad.
and upon that, the library and our department joined forces, and we purchased roughly $1,000 altogether in skates. So next year, because we got them like the week that it thawed, but next year we will have skates for people to come out and check out at the library for free. So a program that, like, if people don't have skates, we got them for pretty much every age. We got them for about every size that you can get. But they can come check them out at the library for free, and we'll try and do some promotional material, obviously, in our activity guide and at the schools if we can. Just like people want to go and buy skates, come and rent them. And then a thank you to Derek Ward, as he took all our skates and got them all sharpened. He has his own sharpener, so he sharpened
That's cool.
for us at no cost, which was awesome. Outside of that, we were at conference last week. So WPRA conference was up at the Kalahari and the Dells. Some really good sessions on rec programming and kind of like where recreation programming is going. In a lot of communities, there's a lot of AI tools and a lot of AI stuff that's kind of come out. So we were trying to really beef up our activity guide for spring and summer with some offerings and that sort of, like, teaching kids some AI type programming, along with logo, like how to make your own logos. And I mean, we went to a session where it probably could have taken like an entire day. It was a good 2.5 hour session, but they were like teaching us every aspect of how we could be using this going forward in public sector. Which I feel like a lot of it are our parks and open space plans, activity guides, memos, emails. I mean, I don't know if anyone's using them right now or any of you are using them for your job, but he more or less gave us a lot of tools that could help us kind of going forward with that. So kind of exciting, and it was kind of scary all around with some of the things that they're able to do and provide. But in general, it was a pretty cool conference in that regard. Let's see. I guess she's there for that. We are working on our goals and objectives for this year. Within our staffing, we meet on Thursday individually with me, and we all meet together and we already came up with what we feel our goals are for the department. Now we're trying to break those out, and how do we accomplish those within our own development, our own goals. So we'll do that on Thursday. We'll bring them back to how we'll all do at the next meeting in March for you to look at and kind of see. Hopefully you align exactly what we're looking for. But I know two of the main things that we are really trying to do a better job of is going to be communicating, whether that be communicating about programs, communicating about the pool, whatever that may be. And we came up with so far about 8 objectives on how we can do that. And we're trying to break that out now with some suggestions that we received here, but also with maybe some new tools that we can use going forward. And
So, I asked you what the goal setting for the Parks Department.
Mhm.
Does that all like stem from goals of the village, and then each department does their initiative?
So this is the main document kind of used. So the 5-year plan that we have in here tonight to kind of talk about a little bit, that's the document we use in regards to like large goals of like what the village residents and or people throughout other departments, what they want to see, maybe board members, what they provided for us. So that kind of like is the template to break things out. But then we try and even delve into that more, some of our objectives of there's a lot of things in here that we can't do on our own. But is there information that we can provide for the community? Are there ways for us to tag team some of these projects and or some of these things that the village would like to see us accomplish as a group? Or can we do that with other departments? Can we kind of partner with the schools? We're just more or less looking at other ways to help meet some of these goals. So this is the starting document. Then the other side of it for us is getting feedback from the community. So we do surveys throughout the year with what are the things that they're hearing about, what are things that they're not. And communication seems to be the thing that really came out in the surveys of what people want more of. So we're trying to do that, but we're also trying to find what's the best avenue for doing that. Like, that's one area where I feel like we really struggled, whether that be social media or our website. But it's more about talking to those people and asking, where do you look for that information?
Email list or the only one.
Right. Like, we have a few of these tools already in place, and some people are a part of them and some aren't. So it's more or less trying to bring all those together and say, what's going to be the most efficient way to get this information out to you. So that's the main thing that we got out. Then the other one was our website, and like updating our website more often and trying to get more information out on our website, especially with like seasonal changes and or new program offerings, just stuff like that we don't always get on the website. It's in a book or it's somewhere else, but people don't always want to go through that book or come here and look at a flyer or Piggly Wiggly flyer. So we're really trying to like push things right to that website.
Who leads those sessions,
Which ones?
the goals and the sessions you guys talked about? What do you mean the staff on the Thursday? Who's leading that? Is that a
I
car?
lead that. No, I lead that. She may be a part of it because she thought, yeah.
Okay.
So that's just our part of, we've always done this. It's just, I'm trying to like renew it every year. Because I feel like we've really been hearing the same things the last couple of years. So I'm feeling like, all right, we're not hitting that. We're definitely still below the threshold of what people are, what they want from our community with regards to communication. We rely probably on this way too much in the spring and summer, where I think we can kind of use more of our marketing, monopolizing our website or the chamber or other aspects of the community channel. So
My wife and I are like polar opposites on that. I
Yeah.
think the online thing is great, and she loves to have it paper.
so do I still like this. I still like
That's
this.
like looking it up, and I'll be like, oh shoot, what time is
Yeah.
this again?
Did it change? Yeah, or something.
That's got to be a household thing. Like one wants paper, one wants online.
That's why we still do both.
From a communication standpoint, you want to talk about, like, I'd be happy to work with you guys about doing like a weekly video.
Oh, yeah.
Just something simple, of like, hey, this week, come check out this park or go to this trail, or just like inviting people to something that they might not otherwise do.
Yeah.
And whether it's a little demonstration video, or you can go mountain biking here, or you could do this, it might be a way to kind of open people up into new programs, or you say, hey, this week we have these new programs that are opening up, it's for these people. I don't know how, it'd have to be something really short and simple, because I don't, on whether that's social media, that's usually where people would watch that, but maybe that's something that people find a little bit.
No, I like that.
You have
Or even just what, you and I talked about at one point is like, how do we brand our community? Or how do we make, like, everyone says outdoor recreation, or that that's supposed to be what Jay has really been pushing for the village. And it's like, are we though? Are we really like showcasing those things or bringing those things out? So I'd love to talk to you about that in more depth.
Because I think a lot of times, like when I've done product videos for companies in the past, it's not about teaching people how to do things. It's not like a long form. It's more about just showing them the ideas of what it can do.
Yeah.
Because like once you get exposed to, you could do this, this, or this, then if you're really interested, you'll seek out the answer. And so it's our job to just basically say, here are the options available to you, or here are the new things that we're doing.
Yeah.
And then just introduce them to it.
Well, videos seem to be more well received. Like someone like, okay, it's a 30-second video, I'll watch it. Oh, this was cool, share it. Whereas if you're scrolling social media, it's just like, here's a picture. Boop, oh, what's this guy talking about? That's kind of neat.
The reels side of things,
Yeah.
or if you can get on that part of it, I think they get a lot more traction. The only other thing I have is going to be Scenic Valley Park, which is the new development out the west side of town, southwest side of town. I did get an email from Tammy Nelson asking that the village name that park after her parents. So Shack Park is what they're kind of looking for, I believe. So we will I'll bring that to the committee for next month to have our public hearing. So I'll bring it on, we'll put it on our website, we have 30 days, and we'll bring it back to our committee for discussion on it. what we heard from different people, so. it'd be
You remind me of the basic naming rights things that we came up with, because we came with.
Yeah, so there's a policy in there, so anybody can provide us with information about what they'd like that park to be named. This one's a little bit different, it's obviously a new park, a lot of times new parks will be named after the family or after the land that was there.
Don't they usually have to provide some kind of a financial or a?
That's something-
Usually the reasoning for it.
So that's
where I
something
was
we can
going to.
talk about, that's something that you can all decide and discuss. You know, provide in your recommendation to the village board at some point, but yes, you know, that land was sold, it's been developed, so someone along the lines made money on the land or the project. So it'd be on you to decide whether or not you'd want to name it after that, or come up with a different name, or come up with something, some other way to make that happen.
That doesn't involve Glacier.
That doesn't. So that is a plus in that regard. So,
Got
but I
your
did
back
get the
there.
email from her, not for this, but I wanted to keep that on your radar. So going forward, then the last thing, I also received this from the Ice Age today. They would like to put in box steps, which would be an easement that we earn. So this is the fire station here. So it's across from there. They'd like to do some box steps.
What's a box step?
Yeah, I'll show you what that is, what that looks like here. It look like this. So going up into the Conservancy. Right now, we have some erosion issues at the start of this trail and that they've been kind of maintaining and helping us, you know, do. This is like one of their main trails that goes up.
They did those off Lewis Street too, right?
They didn't do box steps there, but
Or
they tried to do
something
something
similar.
to hold. They were supposed to put in these pavers
Yeah.
all the way along there, and the pavers never got dropped off. We had all the volunteers there and everything. The pavers that they were supposed to purchase never got dropped off, so then we tore all the sod out and ended up putting in treated wood in some of those areas, which did at least help. It
Yeah.
held the erosion, and it kind of shows people like, hey, this is a trail. We'd have to talk about this. I'd have to talk about more or less this with them in regards to, you know, normally if it's over X amount of stairs, you should have railings, or we should, you know, so we may have to meet some of those standards being in a village. You know, a lot of times these are out in the middle of nowhere where they, you know, have part of their segment running through and there aren't a whole lot of guidelines for them, so. But this will come, I'll bring this to you all next week. This also just got sent to me.
I'm assuming they would pay and do all the work. We just have to give them our blessing.
Yeah, we just have to give them the okay. So this is the actual site that they're talking about,
Uh,
which is a very steep area too. So when people are trying to get up and into their, this is a really good segment of trail, kind of goes off to the left here. So, you know, I can see why, you know, you can tell right now this is all bare ground. All the pine that are up in that area really shade this, so it makes it tough for them to, or us to put any seed or anything down. But there's probably a lot of native seed in this area that's just not getting the sun it needs. So as soon as some of those trees went down, probably.
Do you remember what unrelated, do you remember what the name of that bench style is called?
Leopold.
Leopold. Sorry,
Well,
that was one of my, I
yeah.
was trying to remember it the other
Yeah.
day.
Yeah, they're very popular in a lot of places. We lost probably like 10 or so of them during the flood. That's the bad part about those, is they're usually not staked down or sitting anywhere. So any
Yeah.
amount of water gets them and they're gone. But
They're great for a brief sit.
they are. All right, that's all I have for you right now. Oh, I lied. There is a village visioning session for the new village hall and police station. Forgot what they're calling it. Do you remember, Cody?
I can look at it.
It's like cross planes, public. So I'll find it and send it to you, but if you'd like to all come and be a part of that, kind of, it's calling it the annual meeting, but it's not. He wants it to be more of a, so it's not so formal, so people don't get scared away, and if they come and actually do give their opinions or provide input. Do you have it?
Yeah, there's so many visioning sessions, or planned visioning sessions, because they really come to fruition, kind of hard to keep track. So like, is this the visioning session? Is it the exterior?
Yeah, that's why I wanted to make-
Embellishment of
I'm
the
not-
interior?
I'm not seeing anything from the,
You know, it's like. How many of these are we having?
Questions?
So, but, I mean, it's late.
They must have just come up with it on, was that today?
I had it on. Community engagement.
Yeah.
Community engagement is what they're calling it. The new Village Hall and Police Station. It is March 4th at 6 p.m. And they're doing it here, which I find interesting.
Their goal was so that way if people come, they can see the confines that this building has.
I mean, that's already.
But I think
done at
most
that point, right?
most everyone knows.
And it's kind of like at that point, you're already moving forward with this, but. They have some renderings that they have provided the village board. I know that they looked at it last month's meeting on the new building. I've actually taken that rendering because I think personally, I feel like they're all hideous.
I wasn't,
So I've taken them and I actually revamped them into things that we were looking at. So the 4 main buildings that, or I'll say the 3 for because they're all buildings, but the 3 main buildings that they're really looking to have them look like would be like our fire station, our library, and the Ice Age Trail building. So they kind of use those 3. There's one more place the one that Jay did in Madison, they try to use that too. But those 3 are in our community, so they're trying to like use pieces of them. And I didn't see any pieces of any 3 of those buildings in the the 3 concepts that they provided the village. So I took one day last week, Friday, or Thursday, I took what I thought, like I took all these buildings, put them into like a generator and then got new ideas. And I really like what they came out with. But we haven't showed them to Wold yet, so we're gonna see what Wold provides us the next meeting. And I gave that website and stuff to Becky too, so.
I don't think there was,
She seemed excited about
Yeah.
it.
Yeah,
I don't think there was a whole lot of excitement for how they look.
yeah.
And like, there's like, that's not so bad.
What time is that meeting at?
That meeting is at 6 o'clock
Here?
here at the village office, yeah. Probably.
Yeah, Friday they had their meeting. At the core.
Yeah, so this is what they kind of chose. So. Just so you know.
That was like a hospital. Like very municipal.
Oh.
Dropping the old people off.
Here,
The first one.
then I took them. So you can't do much with it, but I took it and made it. I mean, at least like, so, and it's like different things, so it kind of pulls different parts of it out. But like I said, this was like really quick, so I think there's a lot more things we could do with that. That's one of the options that they And the other thing is if we do this is like cement board. That's what we get on our shelters, like siding, cement siding. So much cheaper. So I think it goes like, we'll see. We'll see what they come up with for the next meeting. I think we have like 4 weeks or so left.
Right. Moving on to committee discussion, discussion and possible action to approve the minutes of October 21st, 2024.
Make a motion to approve the minutes from October 21st, 2024.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye, excuse me. All opposed. Motion carries. Excuse me, discussion and possible action regarding the Lions Legacy Pavilion and HM Zander Community Nature Park.
All right, so in the packet, you should have seen kind of a lot of the information regarding the project itself. The Lions did get to their 85% mark, which Cody kind of brought up, which is great. That allowed us to kind of go into phase 2 of this and start the engineered drawings, which we've received here, which you can kind of look through at the end here. If you have any comments or things you'd like to see.
I'll figure the 85% they were trying to get to.
Like 45 or something like that. Was it like, it's over 500,000?
Yeah, so overall project cost is I'd say it's gonna be, like, originally we had like 510,000. And they hit 85% of that mark. So this is kind of where it gets a little dicey, and I'll talk about that. So we finally got our letter from the DNR stating that we received the 249,000. So we had received a preliminary letter from them saying, hey, we've chosen you. You can expect a letter. Well, that was like back in September. We hadn't received anything. I've been in many conversations with Cheryl from the DNR, but they're waiting on people reviewing the rest of the projects and making sure that everything's in line. So a lot of times what happens is they say like, hey, you're a winner, you're a preliminary winner, and this is the amount that you're going to get. A lot of times that money value is going to be less than what you've requested. So when that happens, a lot of times people are like, well, it's less than we were expected. We're not going to take this. We're not going to take your money this year. We're going to apply again next year and try and go for the whole money or all the money. When that happens, then they have extra money sitting there. So sometimes when that happens, instead of the 249, here's 310 or whatever the real money is that. So I think that's what they wait on. They kind of wait to make sure people are going to accept it and have those conversations with them. We had many conversations about it. Which we were like fully saying yes, we'd really like the 249,000. Got the letter last Friday, which is great. So now we can what that has done is now allowed us to go on and move forward with Snyder, but really move forward with Polygon. So if we were to have signed more things with Snyder, or if we were to have purchased the Polygon shelter, which is the biggest cost for the process, we wouldn't be able to use DNR funding for that purchase because you can't use any grant funding to purchase anything that's pre-approved with your letter. So we just kept waiting and waiting, and we were really like sending Cheryl messages like, hey, can we get this letter? Mainly because we heard of all the tariffs or things that are coming up. We really want to get this project, moving. And so we got it last Friday. Now, so 2 weeks ago, we approved the engineering only for this. So the engineering for the project is $500 for the Polygon shelter itself. That comes directly from Polygon. So they take all of our geotech information that we receive from the ground, and they tell us like, this is what you're going to need for your footings. This is how we're going to design your structure. And a lot of the design is all the same, but depending on what type of material you're putting this on, has a lot of indication on like more or less where your truss should go, how much weight this can hold, all those sorts of things. So that takes us about 5 weeks. So I'd say we're 2 weeks into that. So she told us like we should have that within the next 3 weeks. So now we're in this interesting pattern. So once we get all of these engineered drawings and we get everything from Polygon, we then send it to the DNR. They have to look it over and approve it still. Normally, you don't want to go and purchase anything prior to them approving because things could have to change. Normally, a lot of the DNR, they're just looking at more or less like what's your landscaping, what are you planning to do for erosion control? What are you looking to do for plantings once it is built? Because we don't want all the extra stormwater coming off the roof and going into the creek. So what are your, what are the dimensions for your butterfly gardens? What are you looking to add for trees or plants? So the landscaping and plant we are working on internally, that part should be done. But I also like kind of nervous about purchasing a $310,000 shelter, and then the DNR is like, well, actually, so it's kind of put us in this odd spot.
You're confident they would approve it, but if they didn't, then you're kind of hosed, but you really want to get it done.
Right. The other parts of this are, we know how much the Polygon shelter is going to be, right? We do that through Sourcewell. It actually should come in a little bit cheaper. So Sourcewell is like a gathering port where you can order directly from a manufacturer without having to go out to bid, because we found that Polygon is the only structure that meets all these parameters that we want in our community. So that's what we're looking to do. So we should receive a little bit less, it should actually be a little bit less than what they have quoted us in the past, because we'll go through Sourcewell. The other hurdle here, though, is that it's going to take us anywhere from maybe 6 to 12 weeks to put together our specs or put together what we would be ordering from Polygon, right? So we put that order in, takes 6 to 12 weeks to get it back, to actually have them ship it to us, right? But in the meantime, we have to go out to bid for the entire project. So who's going to put it all together for us? Who's gonna do all the earthwork? Who's gonna do? So we have to do that bidding process as well. Well, what I've been really worried about is this isn't a full village project. So we haven't done the bidding. We have no idea. We have cost estimates on what we think it's going to be, but we don't know if the project, so if the project comes in, let's just say at $100,000 or $200,000, we only put in for the concept that it was going to be $100,000. So where does that other $100,000 come from? And that's where I'm kind of in this stalemate with myself of, do I order this polygon shelter so it's here in time? And we maybe miss out on all those tariffs, hopefully. Or do I go out for bid on the project without knowing when we'll actually get the polygon shelter to get here for them to build? Because the other part is, if someone are, everyone's putting in their bid, they'd like to start this project in, let's just say April, or let's start this project in May, right? They can do the earthwork, they can do the concrete work, they can do the electrical for the most part. But then are they gonna sit and wait for 8 weeks until we get the polygon to come in? You know what I mean? Like, I'm in this like really odd kind of holding. I don't know which way to go with it. Is there so, and then the other part of it is, let's say this bidding for this polygon shelter that we purchased, and it's sitting in my shop or sitting along in the park, but it comes in $100,000 more. Where are we getting that money? Because they're already done fundraising. You know what I mean? Like, they've told everybody they've received all the money they need, which is so it just like really is it's very convoluted in general.
And not a clear path, but everything depends on the other, and
Yeah.
you can never figure out which one's the chicken and which one's the egg.
Yeah, and I really feel like either one of them could make me lose my job. But mainly, that gap, and I need to talk to Lisa more about that, but that gap, if it is more, where are we coming up with those funds, or, and that's just worst case scenario, could come in less, that'd be great, but
For the structure, you're saying?
it's scary for everything. The bidding process, the bidding is what worries me a little bit, the construction aspect of things, but if we don't get on that soon, the bidding documents will all be here shortly. But if we don't get on that soon, now we're behind.
I feel like you have to do that though, because if you wait, then you might not have anybody and then you're stuck with whatever if everybody's totally booked out, got everything planned, now you're like stuck with whoever you don't actually, and they could charge you whatever, because they know that you need them.
There's no time frame stipulated by the DNR of completion, is there?
No, the grant money, we'd have 2 years, so, yeah, it's just that I know the Lions are very.
I mean, it's not gonna get cheaper in 2 years.
No, I mean, I just looked it up when we first started this project, that polygon shelter was $190,000. We're now at 310. So.
I think you gotta go, I think you have to do the bid first. That's not my.
Do the bidding
non-expert.
before we purchase the polygon. It's kind of like that too. It just pushes the project out, could push the project out longer. Because the other side of it is, they tell us they'll do it and they want to do it, their start date, and start dates are usually to be determined based on, us having construction discussions and when we feel the park is best to open.
You lock in price at Polygon if you put a deposit down?
I already locked in the price, I hope. She told me that if we go forward with the bidding, or I'm sorry, if we go forward with the engineering, which was $500, then she'll be able to lock that price in. I said, lock us in. So I felt good. I'm not too worried about that unless it takes all summer or something and all these changes happen. We just don't know. There's so much unknown.
Do we have staff do any of that work if we get in a bind? Besides the money, as far as-
Jerry's gonna be gone, so he retires here March 19th. He would have been my go-to for like, what do you feel like our guys could handle and whatnot. We did our whole blacktop project ourselves, but this is a little bit different. A little bit different game, with it being a building.
It did say in their letter they would continue to fundraise, but if it was $100,000, I think that would be pretty difficult.
Yeah.
Well, it almost seems like the question is, can we find a local contractor that would be willing to donate or assist?
And that would
Since it's a
be,
community
that would be
project,
ideal, but
Maybe,
you
but-
can't bank on that either,
Right.
I've had some conversations already with a couple that have helped, like, done stuff for us in the past, like, hey, we got a project coming up. And then they're like, well, hey, when's that Village Hall police station project coming? That's the big one, right? That's the
Oh.
big number they're looking for, so. But yeah, I mean, just getting it out there is gonna be key. I do feel like the work that'll be being done for this project is pretty. Other than the foundations, like for the actual,
Builders.
yeah, for each of the pillars, that's the only part that I feel like we could have some trouble with, but. Like the concrete, the earthwork and the concrete, yeah, I don't see that really being a huge.
It's like I built a pergola at my house and the last thing I was gonna do is put a post in, because if they're not perfectly square, your screws in the beginning,
Yeah.
all that stuff was up, it was like, it's just an assembly.
Right,
I mean, that's
it's
the
just,
thing that matters.
having the right equipment, bringing, I don't know if we'd end up having to have a crane or what would.
I'd be interested to see if they'd need a crane, how they'd get it down there.
Through the path, so the construction does show. Let's see.
Oh, I suppose they could come all the way down from like,
Yeah, and we constructed that.
Hellshire.
path. Where's-
yeah, they could get on it.
Like 9 years in the making.
Yeah,
So you almost feel bad, like, yes, go for it.
yeah, so.
Okay, yeah.
So this would be, they will be using. They will be using our current path to get down to our site, so this, all the blacktop in this area. Driving. We did, when we put this path in, we put it in more or less like a road surface, knowing like there would be big trucks, so when we did the bridge projects here, when we
Yeah.
did the blacktopping. On the other end and did the boardwalk and stuff.
That was
they
the
drove
access
right
point.
through here, yeah, so. It's just, it's
just-
a little older now. and,
Yeah.
You know,
I didn't think about it.
Yeah.
I've walked that hundreds of
Yeah.
times.
so, yeah, we can go through, was everybody able to look through this is the main document that, Schneider's been putting together. Anyone saw anything or, if you want anyone else to look at it, these notes are kind of the main point, can be the main point of contention. I have not seen anything in here, I did make notes on mine, just based on some of the questions that I had regarding like color and, things of that sort, so. As of right now, there hasn't been any color choices as we haven't purchased the polygon shelter, but I will tell you, there are so many options for this.
I did kind of like the little diagram in there where it showed like the building at the size with 100 people and then it showed the excess area
Yeah.
still.
That was an older document, but that's more or less how we got to the point of. What we wanted or what the lines really wanted.
They decided, like page 74, that one. And have they decided the footprint 20, 30, 30, 40?
So it would be 30 by 40.
Okay.
40 by 40. With the color choices are the only thing that really hasn't been like chosen yet. I had said at the beginning, we talked about like doing black because of the downtown revitalization plan. So everything in our downtown area has like black street lights and black
Oh,
bike stuff. So I thought that might blend in the best with what we have down there. But I'm also open to any other options.
I wonder if there's any heating difference between black, like in the summer, if it's a lot hotter underneath the black shelter
So
versus.
this would just be for the posts.
Oh, just
is
the
what I was
posts?
thinking.
Oh.
So, yeah.
Yeah, posts,
You
I
know, so,
would agree
like,
completely, because like that
I
fence
don't know
across.
what these, some of them they've showed, you know, gray, see, so this would be like what it would look like. So the truss and the posts would be black.
Yeah.
In general. And then this medallion kind of coming down, and this is like the one, this here is what they really showed everybody. And kept saying like, well, we're not gonna have these wrapped posts. Because we can't, we have to keep the posts the same size as they are, and that's the only point of no contention for rise with the water. So it's not gonna, if we do have a flood, the water will be able to push past those.
Oh.
So we can't actually have any wrapping.
So they would just be straight down.
Yeah,
No, no bricks.
to the concrete, yeah. Correct. So, you know, you're
More resistance to the water, more likely to get ripped out.
right. Ripped out and or cause more flooding upstream,
Yeah.
which we can't allow. I will say the only time I've seen that area flood is in the 18th flood, so hopefully that's the only time. But
Did they change the amount of water that can go under the bridge? They didn't.
you talking
On
on
KP on Market Street.
That's a good question. I'm not sure.
I think that's where part of it came, is when that got backed up and plugged up, it just
Yeah,
filled. I'm not a storm expert by any stretch. It's my 2 cents.
you know, these 3D renderings are kind of like more of a graphite color, I'd say, maybe.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they have had other things out there as options. I'm not real. The only thing I told them is I saw one with like a green roof, and I was like, let's not do that. Look, it didn't.
I get why they say green roofs, because it blends in, but it's like you don't
Yeah,
necessarily need it to blend in.
I mean, I'd even say like brown or something.
You want it to be blue and yellow, because like the color of the lions and the Presley sceneries combined.
You might be onto something there.
I don't know how yellow.
Or orange and.
So on this. So, oh, not on that one. So you'll see on. Sorry. So see how this medallion, there's all this like writing up here. So this will say Lions Legacy Pavilion going around it. And then it will have their Lions Legacy or their Lions Club logo.
Like the
up
crest.
as well. So
Cool with that.
that'll kind of have to do, I think, it would be a sticker that they'll put on the medallion.
Yeah, it'll be like
But-
there.
I like where your head's at, though.
Yeah,
The really one is the lion water fountain that was always at the
Oh.
Lions Park when I was a kid.
Yeah, I've
Like,
seen those
with the
before.
mouth open.
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
And lighting is going to be a part of this project, correct?
Lighting inside of it is going to be part of this project, so I had to give them the lighting plan. Already, so we will have 12 different areas where lights can go in. I'm sorry, I take that back. We have 10 areas where lights will go, and then we have 2 areas where speakers could be added.
So like on that one on the right where you can see like lights. from
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
Like, so
yeah,
part of my question is,
yeah. But I don't know what we'll still decide what the lights will be. They
We're-
have different groups they like to
Are
do.
they only on it? It's like. When are they on?
So that'll have to be a decision. If we do dusk to dawn type lighting, we could do that like with a photo cell down on one of the breakers, or we could do it so it's on a switch as well with the photo cell. Or it can be on an app. We wanted to go that route as well, just,
I was more so wondering when they run that electrical,
yep,
if that's something that would allow for a future
Yeah.
build into the path.
already do.
Okay.
Yeah, so everything that we have in there will allow us to either light the path with bollards at some point, if
Yeah.
that's, something that we want to do. Gives us that option. It also could give us an option for other electrical outlets to be added, in the park or anywhere within there. So that's all part of the discussion.
Good. Because that was always our biggest issue when
Yeah,
lighting the path
Yeah.
and the boardwalk.
Yeah. And you know, we looked at solar options for that too, is that could be a possibility, but still having the electrical in there. The electrical is going to come from the parking lot that the village owns across from the bridge. It'll come from there. There'll be one electrical post kind of near the bridge, and then there'll be one inside the park. They're going to no longer go underneath the creek for the electrical. They're actually going to put it along the bridge. So it'll be a conduit all along the bridge.
There's a picture of that somewhere in here, I saw.
Yeah.
I missed it.
So at one point, I don't know if any of you remember that.
It said
We were
something about temporary bathroom. Looked like little flowers or something when I was looking at it, so I was like, what are those? It said electrical, and then it said something like
Oh.
temporary,
for the temporary service.
I don't know. All I know is it looked like little asterisks.
I don't remember that part, so maybe you'll have to.
I can't remember, I just saw it when I was looking through the 200 pages, so
I know, there's a lot.
it doesn't really matter, but.
So yeah, so the electrical is gonna come on this side. So originally they had it over here and I was like, nah, let's just stay here and we'll stay along the edge here. And come in, there'll be probably an electrical box of some sort.
Oh, it's on page 20,
Oh, like original.
but maybe that's just. Potential electric service, potential.
Oh yeah, no, it's on
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, and this. So
Page-
this is kind of what, yeah, this is what we
Page 94 has the
originally
actual
put together.
has it in their plan.
Yeah, so this is the actual electrical.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so here, this is where the steps are. They'll be right along the steps, in this way. Then we will be able to tie it underneath, so there'll be conduit at least put in underneath. We may not have any wires, but we're gonna keep them on this side now, so that's what's different.
Oh,
Here it shows it going on the other side. I'm gonna try and keep them on this side of the path. I don't have more of it underneath where you really don't need it right now, so. And if we're tied in over here, we can go along the path this way.
yeah.
Anyways, we don't really want to go on this side because we run out of our own right of way. Or run out of village property, but
The only thing I could see is once you get, if you were to light the boardwalk, you'd have to bore it under the trail, but that's only at 8 foot. or 12
boardwalk,
foot.
putting lighting in at the boardwalk might be a problem too, just being in wetland areas like all along there. So we may end up having to do something more on the boardwalk, you know, like if we wanted to see something.
No, I mean, like if you were to run it on the backside of the conduit down the backside of the boards.
Oh, yeah,
And then go with a
sure,
vertical light.
yeah. But at least even if we come on the inside here and go
Right.
to those. Boardwalks up, so we can go underneath that,
Yep.
no problem. We do have permeable pavers in here. I don't know exactly what that'll look like for sure yet, but. We try to use something that water will go through, that helps with our stormwater runoff. And then Dane is actually coming up with a really good plan. We are going to make it so that all the way up to the creek is all native grasses and shrubs. We'll probably do some dogwood and stuff in there. But then have a lot of forbs and grasses like all up through this area, so. It won't be, maybe people won't be able to walk directly on there, so we don't end up with erosion in the future. But that's because that's one area that the DNR is really worried about.
Other than lemongrass, is there a plant that helps repel the mosquitoes? That doesn't have to be planted annually?
I don't know. I can ask him.
We plant lemongrass every year at our house, and I think it does well.
Yeah. The only other thing is like they have stone benches and things of that sort. As of right now, those are not part of this plan. If we were to have, or if the Lions were to have some money left over, they may add some of those sorts of things, but otherwise we'll probably add that at a future date. To the app. So.
Anything like that, that's not part of this, it's just structure and.
Structure, electrical,
Foundational
Yeah.
elements
Yeah.
of having.
yeah, even like trash cans they had in there, and I was like, oh, we could take all those out. We have already, you know, our own, and we'll plan for that in the future for changes. If, you know, once we start running more events and we know what we need down there, we can add to those, so.
benches would be.
Yeah. We already have one of the benches in that area, so.
One good band down there with the beer tent would be,
Yeah.
or the beer trailer.
It's kind of I mean, we've started some of the programming aspect of it already. Just kind of reaching out, trying to find, we may even try and do like a couple of showcases this summer without it being built. Just to see, get people to the area and see what it was to now what it will be. Maybe another step. Just local.
I mean, I know early on in the project, it was, nice to have like bathrooms, how do you get a bathroom in a bear park? Well, parking, how accessible is this? Could there be future potential on Bourbon that there be some property that would be converted maybe? I mean, it was. really
So,
looking
and
at
those are
the
still
growth potential.
questions,
Right.
still
There's
questions
no
we're
answers.
getting. So our whole thought process, so when we put in this parking lot here, we stubbed in sewer and water. Into the parking lot, knowing like at some point we could maybe just add a prefab type. That they use a lot in like county parks or other places, but we would have sewer and water right to it. They make a lot of those modular type bathrooms now. So we could add that to, we would lose a stall or two or three. But it could be added into the parking lot, so then it's very close. Getting sewer and water into the park is nearly impossible at this point, so. As far as parking, the village hall police station supposed to have, I believe, 68 new parking stalls. So that would be an area for it, and next to the fire station, so the east side, I'd say, of the fire station parking could work as well. And that's kind of why we've had, an area for the trail to go in that area, or if the trail goes in that area. The goal, I know Jay's goal was to make the new village hall police station a trailhead. So that's where people can come and get information on, different things going on in the village, or park and walk through the park or go on to Ice Age, so it's all very close to that. It's great, it could be great, but yeah, I think those things will all kind of come with time as property may kind of open. We'll see some other changes with it,
But it was a thoughtful.
Yeah.
Kind of design.
Yeah.
In thinking
Where it's
about the
located.
future.
for sure. There's also been some discussion, like the farmer's market, we do it for trout days, but could we do, one-way parking down Mill Creek Parkway, especially during all events? So, during music in the park, it's, parking down, or you can only turn in by, let's say, what would that be? Forgot what the-
Bowling alley and that's it.
Yeah, you could turn left in by the bowling alley. There's no turning left in down by Ice Age. And then we allow parking all along the road there. So we do that during trout days and it works out pretty well. And I'll also say there's a lot of us around to like tell people they can't, or they have people, they have fire department, I think, and EMS as well out there kind of showing people where to go. Yeah.
I like to tell you.
Telling them what to do.
I like to honk at people that
Yeah.
turn left into crossroads.
Yeah. no.
Oh, you're one of those too? I'm right there with you.
Well, there used to be a sign up.
There's still a sign there.
It's still there.
What they need to do though is the sign coming out of Vessel, that big 4x4, put the no left turn right there. Or crossroads.
It used to be, and they took that one down.
Oh,
I think
really?
that's what I was.
Was that one was that the ADA one? Because where
I
it
think
was
so.
sticking into the sidewalk too far, but then the right
Oh,
of way.
was it? Well, I think
I heard that.
I think maybe one of the owners took it down at the village.
Oh.
But-
Because it creates an absolute log jam, like in the mornings.
All the rules.
In the mornings, like going to park school, if you're trying, someone decides they want to turn left and you're on Main Street. It like all the traffic coming
Oh, yeah.
eastbound on 14, it's like you can wait there 3 to 4 minutes.
Any other questions or comments or things you'd like for me to bring back to the club at all? Or
Keep up the good work. Like
any like color options you guys think of that
I like the black on the iron idea.
You do like it?
Yeah.
I like the black uprights.
I'll think of it cohesively,
Yeah,
and
so
then maybe some kind of, I am more of a kind of a dark top kind of person, if only because I've heard from other people say, they like the kind of the natural aspect, and they would like that blending kind of component of Xander Park.
yeah, I
I
don't know if like the roof, is there?
I like
these are
like
the
a-
roof colors.
like a copper personally.
I actually like.
I think that would look pretty sharp, but That or like the champagne metallic.
Okay,
I mean, the copper penny is pretty bright.
it is, but I think it would
I
really
think-
pop out, right?
I think it'd be neat. I
I mean,
think,
you want people to see it,
yeah.
Yeah, you want it
you
to
want people to notice it, I mean, if it blends in and people drive by, I mean, you want people as they're driving by, to
What's
the
that?
hell with that?
Yeah.
I haven't seen that.
So I thought, like originally, I was like going through all these and I'm like, well, like we'll do a slate gray or something with it. And like the black posts, that's I like ideal, because those are all like their natural colors or like don't, so all these cost more. And I don't know how much more I could ask.
Oh.
Get those numbers, like the champagne and the copper. But
Because like a couple of the pictures that they had were
yeah,
the brighter colored looks to me.
and especially the contrast of black.
the copper, I do too. I think it'll look really cool.
Can I ask you a question? And sorry if I should know the answer to this, because I'm
No.
just looking at all these pictures. Is it flat concrete or is it raised up?
Flat.
It's flat,
Yeah.
okay.
So that's another kind
'Cause
of,
some of these are raised up.
another like, yeah, most, I think all of them are raised somewhere, way, shape or form.
Like this
However,
one, this little mock-up,
yeah,
that's flat, so that's
Yeah.
what, okay.
so that's part of the no rise. So
Okay.
we can't,
I assumed, but just
Yeah.
wanted to.
but the Lions Club is currently working on like getting a stage of some sort that they can wheel in and wheel out, or we wheel on and wheel out, so. But, yeah, I don't know, maybe ash gray, blue might be kind of natural in there.
I mean, the other thing is, depending on whatever happens with the village hall, it could be nice to tie in with that to some degree, because they're both brand new at the same time.
Mhm.
Looking at the fire department's roof was, or if there was,
I mean,
There's steel, it's clean.
Yeah, it used to be shingle. I think they put steel on last time.
I mean, the whole idea with village hall was to tie into the three main buildings that we have, I mean, we kind of stick with those as well, and, you know.
That's what I thought.
I'd ask the Lions what they like, what they were.
Well, and that's what I was kind of thinking and doing, and she's like, well, we don't have a meeting for a while, so we have to make that decision. She was like, fine with what we went with, but I think I'll talk with Lisa a little bit more and ask, and I know she has this, but maybe I'll ask her.
I mean, I think because the road is gonna be elevated, if you're gonna grab people's attention, it's gonna be the roof.
Mhm.
I mean, that's the one thing, if someone hasn't seen that and they drive by and out of the corner of their eye, they see a bright roof. That
Right.
could then go, oh,
Mhm.
wait a minute, what is that? I mean,
Yeah,
I'd be okay with it not being subdued, you know, because there's enough trees and such behind it that.
Okay, just had a thought here, because I was looking at the picture, which is just how will that look with the bridge material? Cause it'll be pretty close to the bridge,
yeah,
so that's just
the
something.
bridge is like iron.
It's like raw iron, isn't it?
Yes.
It's got kind of like a rust hue to it, like a patina. Patina.
Just
Yeah.
thinking about that's like
Right, part of the discussion and things to look at.
of the aesthetic of it all, just. Let me
Yep. No, that sounds good. I'm gonna let them probably rightfully choose anyways, but. I wish they gave you more options to look at, like the copper and
Yeah.
black or something, or can they not, maybe they can even knock it
does the
out.
board make the final decision?
The village board will make the final, we may, at the next meeting, we'll have a recommendation from you.
We recommend this topic, is it?
Yeah. So. I'll probably actually have the Lions come to next month's, all of next month's meetings. We can kind of get this stuff done.
I don't know if it's too much to reach out to Snyder to see if they'd be willing to just throw a different colored roof on their renderings.
Sure.
Because the two that are showing that are like the terracotta or the copper color, I think look kind of neat, given they're in more wide
Yeah.
open spaces, but.
But that one's actually in forest. That one on the right.
This one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Natural metal colors.
the bridge.
Oh, yeah.
So do we need action on this
I
or?
don't, unless you feel, I mean, the only actionable item would be something changed. I want to put that in there, so if there are any changes, I'll just put no action at this time.
All right. You guys are all good with that?
Google Maps now says it's the Gulf of America, everyone. I'm here to bring you the news. Bringing you the news.
Uh, Discussion and possible action regarding the request for proposals for the playground project at Westview Park.
So last year, we had to take and close down Westview, if you remember, a lot of that. We had some blowouts and a couple of the poles and just yeah, the surfacing in that area, not surfacing was fine, but the surfacing on the equipment was bad. So this is just an RFP. I'd like to go out, and request, so. If we do this quick enough here, we get kind of quick on their docket, so everything's in here by spring. Before everyone else decides to do theirs. I tried to make it as wide ranged as possible and throw in some play panels and some spinning apparatus. And obviously it was just that conference, so I got to see a lot of the new cool things. I will say that I more or less told them all how much money I had, and they all kind of laughed at me. So I'm kind of interested to see what that looks like. But you know, there's some out there that would be looking to try and get into our community in general. So I think we'll get some bids.
My
or
question,
some quotes, but what I've done, just real quick, so what I've done is put more or less the equipment and what we're looking for is square footage, is what we're, you know, what we have. And then did addendums for the rest, so those can be separated from me. So if I take their playground, I don't necessarily have to take their fiber, or I don't have to take their mommy and me swing. I can go and get that somewhere else. If I make it part of the entire proposal, now we can't really pick and choose what we want out of it. And I did a playground installation by manufacturer and then a supervised install as well, because I feel like the supervised install is actually the only way we could maybe get more equipment. So that's kind of my goal. So what I have them doing is I want the proposals to not exceed 50,000 for the playground. And then what would end up happening is the rest, the addendum A, B, and C would be in excess of that 50 grand.
okay,
Is kind of what I'm looking to do. So if they tell me that, you know, they can install it, but it's another 25,000. I'll go back to the board and ask them for 25 grand, and if not, we have to find, you know, another way to try and do it. And my way is, you know, we do a community install, but then I'm gonna need a lot of volunteers. Which the last community install we did was a very large undertaking, and it was Glacier Valley Park, which is, I always said to myself, I'd never do another one of those, but it ended up being all staff. That's kind of why, and it took us a month. That one took us a month. It's like these other ones, I don't feel would take us quite that long.
I can see why it took a month. That's quite the
The
park.
first part is these coming into the village.
This is, and that's why,
Like at the side.
I feel like you raised that to the village board,
So-
like you had said something about
I did.
kicking in a little more for a better park. And there's a lot of kids in that neighborhood too.
My whole goal, my whole thought process is that I want to see this village like be a destination playground. Like if we did 4 or 5 kick butt playgrounds, there are so many people coming here. And yes, I get it. Like they're coming to our village and they may not be going to spend money, but I feel like through time, as time goes on, there are other ways for us to get them to our businesses and outside of that. But knowing what Glacial Valley Park has done and made the village the number, at least the Madison Moms blog, #1 playground in Dane County for 3 years now, like that has brought so many people to it. So I would love to see us do. I should have just went in the Capitol, said I'm asking for $200,000 for every playground. I mean but I just thought I'd get laughed out, so I didn't do it. But I really would love to see it. I mean, there's so many really cool, you know.
I had so
things
much
that
fun
we
when I
could
gave you the
do.
Melody Acres one, was like looking
Yeah,
through the
like
book,
looking through
like.
different stuff. Yeah. I mean, there's so many options now too that
You'd said you were gonna save the swing set.
we are gonna save the swing set, so that saves us 5 grand or so. Right there. There's one other piece that I could probably save, but I don't know how much use it's really gotten, and I kind of question if it's safe. It's like that, like snake kind of thing.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
And
Metal.
yeah, it's all metal, so it's in
Yes.
good shape, but it's like kids sitting on the top of that and they fall off. I mean, that's a pretty big fall. So I'm like, I don't know if we should keep that in general.
Well, don't you feel a little bit like if you're gonna have some nice new stuff, you want it to all. be
Match.
nice?
I do,
That being said, I really like the old stuff, it's me to fall, but
yeah.
You're gonna learn today, kid.
Soccer field there too?
Can we?
Yeah.
We could, it's kind of steep. Yeah. So I'm actually, so we are, when we pulled the equipment out this spring. Anytime we are, we're going, we are regrading, but I'm actually regrading above it. Above where the playground sits to try and make it so that the water will go around the playground, because what ends up happening now is any hard rainfall. Say, you know. One 100, sometimes more, it depends on the rainfall. Of the wood chips run off of the actual playground and onto the grass. So we're, the other option is to do a full retaining wall of some sort, but I think what we'll end up doing is there's a lot of dirt that can come out going to the east. So we'll pull some of that dirt and mound it up, maybe even take some of the locust trees that we've taken down and lay those in the trench of that dirt so the water has a way to kind of go
It'll
around.
swale it.
Yeah. Kind of goes around. So
Way of doing, I know like, at Bear, we have little like, black things.
yeah,
Um,
for border.
Yeah, but even if you could do like a brick, because I know that there's nothing more than kids like is to walk. Like on a, and like try to hold your balance if you.
Like a balance beam
something that's
wall.
Like a brick, or something that was even just, a foot high, that's enough to push that water up.
Yeah.
but all the
Yes,
kids-
walking.
And they
There's
will
lots
love
of
it.
walking on our ways back today.
Yeah, they do.
Totally, just today.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, "Oh, girls, yeah, you'll be okay, you'll walk."
So like, there's a couple of these providing, right now, so this is a tower they did in Alaska. And like, he was trying to give me some numbers they could, and I was like, well, this is at least tall, where people would see it as they drive through and be like, oh, we should check that out. This was 62,000, I think, they did this total. So I was like. I mean, at least there's 3 slides, like.
And a
that's
big-
kind of
it's a big
plus,
slide.
And a really big, one of the
Yeah,
large
it's a
tower
big
slides.
slide.
So this might be what I'm kind of hoping we can get to.
And it's got the blocker so you can't get on top of it.
Yeah. But kids will go around.
Oh, yeah.
That's what they do. But I just think
Grease it up.
Could be an option.
Families over there are just gonna go crazy. Playground comes in, they live in such a nasty toy. Playground for so long.
Yeah, I agree. But yeah, so up here, so we're gonna try and straighten this all out. 'Cause the other part is and I'm gonna actually bring it out further, I just showed them what the fall zones would be. Based on the square footage that we have, so. But we're actually gonna square this all the way up, so this is gonna come out to here. And across.
Easier for mowing.
Mowing, but way easier to get wood chips in there.
Oh, yeah.
So I did this last year on this one.
I'll take all the silver linings.
Yeah, in backing in with the slinger, because you can only go one way, it's a chute opens.
Yeah.
And backing in on this, I actually backed over that thing like 3 times. Because it's just so weird, like how
It happens.
yeah, it rotates through, so. Yes,
So you wanna schedule a visioning session? Is
Nope.
that- Oh, no.
We're
not gonna do a visioning session. My plan for this one is to go forward with equipment. Mainly because the old equipment is so bad, I don't want to wait till fall
Yeah.
to do it, so.
Try and get on
And
that.
I feel like any equipment in this park, people are gonna be ecstatic about in most ways, but I don't also want to do it a cheap way and say. $50,000.
And the 50,000 was already in your budget
It is.
for this year, so.
Yeah,
Do you need a motion to go out for RFP?
that's my,
Okay, I'll make a motion to go out for RFP for the playground. The Westgate? Westview.
Westview Park, yeah.
I will second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, motion carries. Discussion and possible action regarding the development of Scenic Valley Park.
This is this. We will be doing. the Visioning session.
I was like, wait, I have to get up and push it together. Yep. Okay, there we
Yeah,
go.
so this is a letter, this is kind of what we use in other ones, other parks as well. This is gonna be interesting, this is our first ever playground that we're, or park, I'm sorry, that we're developing as a committee or as a community in quite a long time. The last one we had done would have been with Jed's, but that was really just a playground, so this would be a full park development. I'm guessing with it being a neighborhood park, we'll still be doing mostly playground equipment and maybe a nice trail that gets inside it. Gets you into the playground. This is located here, so this is about 2.5 acres of land. We did have curb cut and things put in, when this was being built out by the developer. So that if we wanted a parking lot over here, we could do that, so that may be something that we want to do, but at least it's already there. We don't have to do that. But this could easily be a place for a soccer field for
I was
sure.
just gonna ask you.
Soccer field,
Doesn't the mountain bike trail have something over
that's here, yeah.
Here, you know, that whole
Yeah,
big
so this
chunk,
is the park area for,
okay,
that whole, that
Oh,
whole,
I thought.
here?
yeah,
that
Yeah,
whole section.
Yeah.
like the. that
we're
was
talking
what we
about doing
talked
like a pump track or something. of
Yeah,
that
kind of
sort.
skills. kind of-
So,
Like along the road, right, but like down.
yeah, yep, so that's technically Conservancy, the whole thing is Conservancy, zone Conservancy right now. We will be changing that to Park and Rec, we'll add two things out right now, the Williamson surveying, they're putting together the descriptions, so these can be separated. They won't be separated via CSM, but they'll be separated via legal descriptions, so. What I'll do here is where this is all mowed out, that area will be separated to Park and Rec District for zoning, so we will be able to do like a pump track or. You know, at one point we talked about this being a small parking lot area as well. I don't know if that's needed as much anymore, but maybe that becomes part of that. And then the rest of this will be zone Conservancy where the mountain biking trail will be, yeah. And so. You know, we can talk about that in this discussion with the group, like, did they want to see that pump track be part of their park? You know, the problem is we're gonna have, I'm just gonna throw a number out and say $139,000, and that's going to develop that entire, whatever they want to develop, so, you know, if playground takes up 100,000 of that. You got 30,000 to reseed or, you know, redo for soccer area.
I like the
You
soccer
know,
field.
add, yeah, or add, bubbler.
It's the one thing we don't have.
Right.
It has so many uses, and like, if you look at Westview, it's like
Yeah.
you have all that area that you mow the grass for, and it never gets used.
Raspberry Park is
We
a
have,
soccer,
we have soccer at Raspberry
Yeah.
Park,
Yeah.
but
yeah,
But you don't have
and,
an actual field.
right, and I don't know if this won't be big enough for an actual field. Per se,
No.
like a, you know, maybe a youth field we could probably do. The thing about
Start.
soccer fields, yeah, it's their starts, I think, I mean, depending on what you want it to be, if you want them lined each week and, you know, all those things. Now we gotta look at, like, we gotta fertilize it, we gotta spray it, we gotta do. You know, keep good turf management where, I don't know if that's what you're looking for, but. That's something that we could, you know, use funds for.
I think really what I mean, what you'd most likely want is something where you have permanent goals.
Mhm.
Sure,
And
but you
then-
have at Raspberry now.
And then, if, you know,
They do have to get moved to mow, cause there's nothing more that I hate.
you know, we have those big new goals at Park, right? We had big, like legit soccer goals at Park down in the back.
well, one of the reasons that I push for it, because he and I talk, the guy who lives two doors down the street from me is the UW assistant soccer coach.
Yeah.
And we could do quite a bit of programming, I think, with him around if we had facilities.
You should look at Park, I don't know if it's, I don't know like what their distance is, if it's
Yeah.
regulation, anything, but
I haven't seen
they're
what those
nice,
are.
new, they're big goals.
On the
They're really
baseball
nice.
fields.
On the back, yeah.
Out there,
Go check it out.
do that.
Where they do the fun or park problems.
Yeah,
Fire you go to the soccer coach, that looks really.
I gotta go in 5 minutes.
Like
Okay, no
forward
problem,
pass,
no
and
problem.
that up there.
So,
Program.
is there a date that everybody would be available? I'd like to send these letters out, so give people a month or two to kind of. Or at least some time here to, figure in their schedule. I mean, obviously staff runs these, so you don't have to be here, but it's nice to have the. The other thing about this is, So we can start the planning, get good information from people. I can maybe consult even here, get some consultants to come in and provide us some plans of what that could look like. The problem with how the village does development is that, and I think I've talked about this, but right now we hit the 50% threshold to start the planning process. But we don't have the funds in place until everybody till every lot is sold, okay? So it makes it really hard to develop in that regard, right?
Which
So
stinks, because then.
we're gonna have to piecemeal things most likely, but having 50% of it, we're probably, that puts us around the $60,000-$70,000 range, so we're getting closer, but it's like, we're gonna have to, the actual build out of this could take a year, could take 3 years, but at max, it has to take 7 years. So no matter what, the village can only hold on to parkland dedication impact fees for 7 years. After 7 years, you have to give it back. So we obviously
Which
have
is
to.
why we had to do a lot in my neighborhood, because we were.
Because it was getting on 7 years.
Here's why, seriously, it was like, what do we get now?
So,
Which stinks, because like, when we got that park, everybody in the neighborhood automatically, and it was like, I started meeting people in the neighborhood that I had never met before, and so I think as a community, we really miss out.
Especially with small
it's good
kids.
to know. That's like a good thing to say then. And that's why I'd like to start. That's why we came up with the 50%. Because I was always like, well, when do I start planning for this? Can I just plan it now, and can we just develop it? And so this is where we're gonna get with new development if it comes in. I'd like to change that and have the developer actually put these things in before any house is going in.
Yeah.
So they pay for it. They can come to our meetings and show us what they want to do with that land, that amount of land, but they put it in, they construct it, like everything is, they pay for everything. And then it's in there before any homes go in. That would be the ideal way. That's how Wanakee does it. And I just feel like the park is in before anyone moves in, and they're like selling because.
And it helps, yeah. I mean,
So-
I know for us, like, cause I had small kids, and that was one of the things that I was really annoyed with, is Bear Park was the only place to go for a park,
Mhm.
and there was no easy way to get there. Like, to be a kids
Yeah.
in strollers,
So we
and you
talked
can't
about
go
the
across the
path.
grass, and you gotta go all the way up and around, and then there's no sidewalk on that side, and it was just miserable. And then, like I said, once it came, like, all the families were there, and you got to meet each other, and it's close enough that, like, if your kids get older, you can say, oh, just go run to the park, I'll watch you from the house.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I don't disagree with it at all. Back to this though, date for this, I like it when all of you or some of you can at least be involved so that people can have that conversation and. They know who to go to or talk to about it if they don't want to come to staff, so. I don't
How
know
soon
if
do you wanna
it's-
have this?
I'm thinking like the end of March or early April is fine, it's just that things get kind of busy for us in April. But,
So
fine.
spring break is the week of the 24th.
right,
So
So you
either
don't wanna-
before that or after that.
Yeah.
I'm gone the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday following.
Is it better to get in front of families who are preparing to leave for spring break, as they're scrambling to wrap stuff up? Or is it better to get them after they come back, but then they're like scrambling to get back into the swing of things? Is there longer?
About like
Yeah, like,
the week of the
April-
April 7th. That week.
yeah, because I was say April 3rd, I think. Or April 2nd, I think this year is going to be the start date for people to register for programs. So what did you say, April 7th?
Well, I just said that like the week of the 7th.
Yeah, I
don't know
think-
what day of the week you wanted it.
I'd agree with that. And what, do we do a Wednesday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday?
I feel, do they still do, our Wednesday still church nights?
I don't
Is that a
think so.
thing?
I don't think so.
I don't go to church, so I don't know.
I know. I don't either.
I just remember like growing up, we never did things on Wednesdays,
I'm with
because
you.
that was
Um,
church night.
I'd say
Thursday the 10th.
Thursday the 10th. The only thing is, we have an after hours thing for the chamber from 5 to 6:30, but that's fine. We could do like 6:30 or 7. Can't remember what time it is.
The chambers in here.
No, it's at Milestone. Trying to think.
I was gonna say, it's too bad, like, we could
Do them both.
knock off an event where like there's already people there.
Could you do it at Milestone? Because it's closer to that community.
It is close to their
I was
community.
gonna say, that is, it's like right down the street from
I
them.
could
but-
ask him, I don't know, if that'd be kind of weird, maybe. I mean,
I
maybe
mean,
not.
It's not really great looking here, it's like.
No.
People's home down the street. That's probably not the proper terminology.
I laugh, it's fine.
For
How about Tuesday the eighth?
older people.
Will that work?
Yes.
Alright.
So I might, well. I mean, you don't have to do it around me, I just might have.
Alright, let's do Thursday the 10th. Thursday the 10th. Actually, you make a motion, so. Thursday the 10th at like 6 p.m.
I'm not doing it because
Okay, I make a motion, never made one, you guys, I make a
Awesome.
motion to hold a visioning session for the Scenic Valley Park. On Thursday, April 10th, location to be determined.
Yeah, that's fine, and I'll just let you know what we decide. That sounds great.
I'll second.
All right. I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed.
Sorry, I
Nope.
have to kind
Perfect, thank you, thanks for coming. Have a great evening. All right.
All right, the last one. All right. Discussion and possible action regarding the 2025 through 2029 Village of Cross Plains Parks and Open Space Plan.
So over the last 6 months or so, I've been trying to work on this. This thing is. It can be as much work as you want or the least amount, I feel like. I try and always do as much as I can of these because like I said, this is kind of our document that we use. It's mainly my document that I know I need to work off of, especially for a lot of the projects and things coming in. So, kind of provided you as much information as I could with some of the changes. I'd say some of the key changes, obviously everything's in red. But some of the key changes I'd say would come out to like what the parkland dedication fees would be. So we talked about our park impact fees. Those are what we talk about when we use with developments. To provide the amount of money needed to service those parks or to construct those parks. We're trying to find a picture. So that is here, and that's all this information. So. For a normal playground, improvement cost, it's about 65,481 is what they're using as. Amount needed for the cost to improve an acre. So that's per acre. So that's 1 acre of land. So this is kind of gets me into that point of view of like Westview is, 3 acres, we should be providing like 190,000. And this is where I'm gonna try and push our ordinance to even go and or our policies regarding capital improvements. Because this is like a weighted number knowing, that this is what we're asking the developers to pay. So why wouldn't we be asking ourselves, like, or saying like, this is what we need to be able to replace some of this. And that's not like, that's maybe not completely true because we can keep some pieces of equipment or keep some pieces of the park in place. But when we look to develop, this is what we're going to be asking developers to provide us, so. It's kind of. What we're going to do.
Yeah, the price of a playground has gone up drastically as well.
Drastically, yeah. So they're saying like just the playground cost should be about $57,600 for a neighborhood park per acre. So kind of gets you in that understanding of knowing. And these are all based on, all of these are costs here are based on growth. So the amount of growth that the village is expecting over the next 5 years. And or costs. So they know the costs of each of these equipment replacements as well. So.
And where do these numbers come from?
Yep, so like this is what this is more or less what it's costing them per acre to develop right now in communities. Communities themselves or developers.
Is this
themselves.
part of like your parks group or? where
So,
did you get these
the numbers themselves come from our planner, the village planner, so Vanderwall Associates. So, they take all the plans around the area or they'll take all construction costs.
They're averaging everything out and spitting out numbers
Yeah.
for you.
Correct. And those numbers are based off of what they feel and or we feel the village population increase will be over the next 5 to 10 years, so. Because that's how they kind of base it out for new development coming in. Does that make sense?
So were these amended pages? So the original
Yeah.
was 18,
Yeah,
but so the data is not.
that data would be old. Yeah, that'd be old data. So all the numbers have kind of changed
Yeah,
based on population expectations and or costs for such.
okay.
So yeah, so for instance, I think our park, our playground impact fee was like 1563 prior. It's like $1,500, whereas now it is like 20. Now that number's 2338. So that's went up like $800 per dwelling unit since the last time the plan was updated.
Or get these.
They do. And then this actually,
Updated.
yep, so this one right here, the top one and this here, that goes into our ordinance. So the village ordinance gets updated with this information as well. So it used to be that every year we had to go into our ordinance and amend the amount the playground improvement fee was, or the fees in lieu of land were. Then I think what happened is some developers started suing communities because they felt like those numbers were too high. And so they didn't have a basis on how they came up with all those. So now they have to come up with like a basis. That basis stays for 5 years. So you don't get to increase it based on the cost of living, which is what we used to do. So now that basis stays. So those numbers, I feel like, can be even a little bit higher based off of the development.
That's something you'd want to get done sooner than
Yeah.
later.
Yeah, in general, so this needs to be updated every 5 years. We are past our 5-year deadline. In general, which is okay. The only thing is, if we apply for any grants, especially the Wisconsin DNR grants, we'll be axed right away because our plan isn't updated. So that's why I'd like to get this next month's plan commission meeting for a public hearing. So ideally, if you would want to take this document, look through all the stuff that we've kind of changed, it's all, I gave you the track changes so you can see everything that's kind of been taken out. And then maybe just let me know of any changes you'd want to see. My goal is to do a public hearing on this in April for
So we would
sure,
bring it back to the next meeting and then we would approve it and then we would take it to the planning.
for public hearing up in
Okay.
April. So. There's a lot of info, so I didn't expect you to read through all this, obviously, but the other side of this is like, if there's anything that we missed. That's a good time for you to let me know, like. If there's playgrounds that needed to be developed, or different areas that need to be developed. I think one area that we need to talk about, like you talked about tonight, is like. Providing a nice soccer complex of some sort in some place. Within our village, obviously the only land that we currently have is gonna be next to your house. But could we add soccer fields inside our current running track or cross-country track or trail that's
I
out there?
mean,
That's definitely possible.
that pair with pool.
Right, yeah,
Could be-
absolutely. Absolutely. The pool I have in here, for future development of the Crosswinds pool to be at Bear Park. Which I feel like all that should be Bear Park anyways.
Can soccer and lacrosse fields be intermingled? Like
Absolutely.
the goals don't have to
Especially
be
for what we
movable or-
have, what we would be offering.
I just know lacrosse
Or-
is on its way up too, like.
Well, that's the thing, I mean, and they'll fit that into football, which we could use a flag football place
Yeah.
instead of doing it, and I think
Like
that's the
baseball,
value. I mean, like, and that's what I always said with our development is like, if you're not gonna do anything with it right now, just flatten it out and plant grass seed.
Mhm.
And let us use it as an open field, you can go play frisbee, you can fly a kite, you
Yeah.
can play soccer.
For sure.
Like, you can play lacrosse, you can do football, flag football things, like, it has a multi-dimensional use for a million different things. Rather than just letting the weeds grow, but I think the pushback always is, once it becomes something, you can never change it.
Well, that's what,
And it's an expensive, it's an expensive area. To put a soccer field when you could build homes or a village hall or whatever that they wanted to use it for, and so. That's something that needs to be decided, but. I mean, we did pay a lot of money for that property, I mean, at some point, we should do something with it.
It just seemed like a ton of money back then, but now it's like,
Yeah.
nice. And it wasn't even that
I
long
know.
ago, 2016. I mean, it was, but it wasn't.
I'd buy it for what they bought it for.
Oh, me too, and then retire.
Mhm.
Yeah, I actually signed that document too, so maybe I did kind of buy it.
I like the way you think.
But yeah,
Yeah,
the formulas are the big pieces of this that need to be, make sure that they meet our needs and or meet, state standards. So, I think that's the big area. that we kind of look at.
I'd love to see that change by the developers having to give something up front, but I just like it makes you wonder if they would see it as like a unfavorable way to get into a place like we're gonna build
It's really
200 homes,
interesting.
we gotta put down 200,000 for a park, but yeah, it's gonna be pretty limited.
It's really interesting, I kind of used to think that way too, and I'm like, oh, why would we do that? Because we'd want control over it, right? The village would want control, but you still get that control. Now, yes, they have to pay, for it up front, which is another upfront cost, but you think about all the sewer, water, streets, sidewalks, paths. Now it's just adding one other element.
All the
you know.
infrastructure
This is
there.
when families come with their kids to look at a home site. and
Look at
the
that
kids go,
park. Yeah,
It's amazing.
And they're
Feature.
And they're likely to put in a really nice park because of that.
Yes.
Like they want to upsell it as much as they can too, so.
as long as they don't show the families the park, if they're signing their signatures down and then there's no park there.
Yeah,
Like,
like they did.
What's the,
I
what's the-
hate
there's
that.
there's a little park, by the elementary school, was it Cross Street?
Goswitz Park.
Goswitz.
Yes,
Yeah.
so we tried to buy the house right next to that.
Okay.
And
Oh.
like, we were just like amazed, like, we have like this, like, how amazing is that? We've been and there's a park right next door. I mean, it's that same idea of,
Right.
to have a park that's already built. Yes, we know that it's got 2 years of wear and tear weather elements that isn't necessarily getting used potentially, but
Mhm.
I just, for us to not have to deal with it, for it to be there. For all of the residents, especially when they first move in, to be able to utilize it.
Yeah,
I don't see any reason to. Before I forget, I was gonna tell you with this, like, if you wanted to set up something, like, I think it would be a lot more effective if like any of us wanted to meet and actually like go through this. Because I think this document is so intimidating, like,
yeah, there's
someone like you that knows it, like, if we had an informal meeting where
Sure.
we just sat down and we just all kind of went through it and read it, like, I think you'd get a lot more. Ideas and feedback from me than you would if you asked me to go and try and read it all.
sure.
Because then there's sort of a presentation and, you can sort of talk about the background and all that stuff, and I feel like it would be. A much better opportunity for everyone. I don't know if that's maybe it can be lumped in with a meeting or. I mean, I'm happy to come in anytime and go through it with you. I don't know what
I mean,
the schedules are like.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing with these is, in my opinion, is like you look at the parks. You look at where they are or the conservancies, and you ask yourself, like, well, do I know where that's at? Maybe you don't, right? And like you just brought up Goswitz Park. Cody happens to drive by it every day, probably.
Yep.
And like, are there improvements that need to be added into those parks, Like we did a surveys out and we got some feedback from some people, but in general, we haven't received enough to maybe. We can always amend this as well. But the document, you don't have to sit down and read the whole document. I think that the main pieces are gonna be like, what are our mini parks, what are our neighborhood parks, what are our community parks? What do I feel that my community park needs to have? Bear Park is a community park, right? Technically, the pool is a community park, because you never put a pool in a neighborhood park. But the pool is on about 2 acres of land, so you'd say like, well, that's probably not a great location for a community park based on the amenities that are in a community park and what space we have for it. So it's mainly like that, but I'm happy to sit, and go through that and talk it over more if you want.
Is there
I'm
any-
just looking for like, are there any, any amenities of existing information or things that you may want to see?
Is this somewhere where we would put in, like, if you wanted to pay to name a park, is that something you could put in there, like, there's that ordinance and board level?
Yeah, that'd be probably more, I don't know. You could probably start up with like a program, like if we had a program, we could talk about it in here. So like as a community member, I'd say I have never read mine in Wanakee either. But most community members, they're not reading this. This is for staff to be able to develop parks. This is for staff to be able to go out and get grants. Because we named like your soccer facility, right? Or your multi-field facility should be added to this, because then if it's in here, I can take and go and write a grant and we can get, 50% of it paid. So it's more like that kind of stuff, splash
Okay.
pad,
Well, once
shelters.
you're gonna get grants, wanna know that you have it planned out, that's
Yeah.
important. If
Yeah,
you
yeah.
have it in your plan, then yes, it matters.
Well, and when it's in the plan, it's actually something that your village wants usually, or village is willing to help pay for. That's how the amphitheater, the pavilion, you call it amphitheater, but the pavilion down in Xander Park. It was in our previous plan that this is something that we wanted to add to our community. Wow, you guys have done the boardwalk. You've done all these other things within that park. This is the only thing you're missing. Oh, here's the money. That's a lot of what happened, so. But in general, this can be a document for all of you as well, some of the capital improvement plans that the village, goes through, trying to add those to it. Or having staff, as myself, add those in. When you see stuff like that, we add it to it, it makes this project so much easier.
By the way, that was one of the things I just thought of, like with those parks too, is like, doing like communication and stuff. Like go to a park and just like interview like kids and just say, hey, what do you like about this park? And
Yeah.
what fun things are there? And it's just something simple.
I want to do that once we get this. If we could do, like I said, 3, 4 really nice destination playgrounds to like come to our area. And you did a promotional video of like the village and showed mountain biking, showed the new pool. That's like
I'm
recipe.
up for it.
That's
I
how you,
There's businesses.
that's how you get
Where
businesses.
people-
I've already offered to do it, but no one's taking me up on it.
I will.
Either
We don't
way.
have them yet. Like, it's so hard to like showcase the Bear Park Playground. It's been there 25 years. Like,
This viewing of Glacial
Yeah.
Valley Park is brought to you by the Creekside Scoop. Come over, play, get sweaty, go over and cool off with some ice cream. I mean, obviously, you
it's actually been marketing.
don't know if you can do that from a village standpoint, but
Yeah,
I don't see
we
why not.
We could do that. I mean, as long as,
But see, but the village doesn't have to do it, but Creekside Scoop can.
yeah,
Yeah.
correct.
And they can then promote it and then, they can share it and whatever else, I mean.
So Jed does a flyover from Creekside.
Do you do
over to-
drones?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
over to
Have an
Glacial
underwater
Valley Park.
RV if you wanna like fly, swim through the creek and see the fish, I mean.
But you do a flyover to Glacial Valley Park, showcase the park and fly back over to Creekside Scoop and you say how close it is. You talk
Yeah.
about. Yeah, that could be
Right, our
really
downtown
cool.
area, restaurants,
Yeah.
ice cream, taverns, an amphitheater.
Right. We're getting there,
Cross Plains needs a hype man, and I think we just found it.
right? We have strategic planning tomorrow for the chamber. It's like an all-day thing. So I'll be bringing that up because this is from my standpoint, what I feel like as a chamber, we need to capitalize on more. Is we need to like align with the village if that's the sense of outdoor recreation and businesses trying to align with that to whether it be doing what you're kind of saying, playgrounds or mountain biking or cross-country skiing. We have all the groomers, we have all the stuff, and now we get a year with no snow. It's like
That would be kind of a cool one if you flew the drone up a path and then back down over to like Vintage.
I mean, I
So bike and then come have a beer.
talked to Ice Age about it, when I was there, 'cause I had to go talk to Kevin about something, and I talked to their marketing person, and I said, hey, if you guys want, and it's the same idea, and I said, once a week, pick a trail. Because everything that they use is crap that other people shoot like on a phone, and it's like
Yeah.
this, and I said, just pick a trail, like I'll go walk a trail,
mhm.
and I'll get cool shots, and if you wanna send a professional or somebody that walks or whatever, and and they can talk about, here's the best part of this trail, and this is why I come here at this particular time, or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, again, it's just giving people the idea of like, hey, I need to get out of the house today, but I don't really know where to go.
Yeah.
And if you provide them with that information and they know it's coming once a week, and especially with those marketing ideas is, you don't necessarily do those once a week. You can knock out 20 of those videos in an afternoon.
You can. If I tried to do it, I'd go.
Well, and then
But,
you just,
yeah.
you bank them and, it doesn't have to be once a week. at
Right.
least a couple times or one, it just takes the, the forethought of coming up with the ideas.
That would be kind of a cool one if you, they flew a drone down the creek.
They offer, do you scan a QR code in, or to get 10% off of?
Well, I mean, I
something
think
somewhere
his idea
else?
was perfect.
Yeah.
Can you pick, the park with something? Can you pick the Ice Age Trail with a company that sells boots or a bike company with, the mountain bike trail and let those two kind of work together to promote each other.
The pickleball courts would be a great one to get
Yeah.
some publicity for. Have you seen those portable lights they make now?
Yeah,
Those things are wild.
or wait, the like Milwaukee type ones?
No, I just saw an ad for it. It'll light for like 6 hours. And it's like a arc type of light that they put, and it stands on its own and they put it like, what is it, the stanchions or
Yeah,
at the side of the net, and it lights like the entire park for several hours.
wow. Look into that.
Just wait, people will start having them soon.
Yeah. Well, if you see anything or you want anything different or change, feel free to reach out to me, or if you want to set up a meeting with me before. But yeah, we look to do the public hearing in April, so at next month's meeting, we'll get you to approve the plan as presented, so. And that's all I have.
All right.
I'll make a motion I'll second the motion.
Okay,
Or-
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, same. Motion adjourned. Or meeting adjourned, not motion.